Michael Bettine here for another episode of It's Cuppa Time. This is a Cuppa Talk here. I'd like to talk about something that I think is real important and a lot of people don't think of. And I want to look at the two sides of it. One is really important, is just to being yourself. I make these videos. I go out and play in person. I do workshops, things like that. And you see me here on the videos. If you come see me in person, I'm the same way. I'm the same person. Because this is me. I'm not trying to portray any sort of character here or act a specific way to get more clicks and more likes and, more engagement that way. And we see that a lot, especially on social media, things like YouTube and that. People will try to be like other successful video people. So you might see somebody and go, wow, I like their set and I like their camera style and how they talk and how they dress and, how they decorate their area and whatever. And they're really successful. They have, 52 million views. It's like, I'm going to copy that. But that's rarely successful because you're just being a copy. And it's the same thing in playing these instruments here. It's easy to see someone else's setup and say, oh, they have a Jupiter gong and a Sun gong. They have both of those. I'm going to get those and I'm going to be just like them because I like how they do their thing. And I really think that misses the mark. The best thing you can do in any situation, whether you're making videos like I'm making right now, or whether you're playing sound sessions with gongs and bowls and other instruments, is be yourself. I think that's really important, especially because I see these instruments are an extension of my personality. I handpick all of my instruments. Often I pick them from sounds that I'm hearing in my head. Okay? Now the Sun gong here is a good example. Here, let me just put this over here on the table. The Sun gong is a perfect example of that. I bought that almost 5 years ago in 2019 at the very first and so far only Gong Summit out in Pennsylvania. And I was there and they had a room full of gongs and other instruments that you could buy and mallets and things. I wasn't thinking, oh, I need to buy a 28-inch Sun gong. That was not on my mind. And that's not the way I work. But I had this sound in my head. I've been playing gongs for ages. I've been playing percussion for ages. So I've developed my ear, and I've developed especially a sense of sounds that I like to work with or want to work with. So now I'm speaking from this side of things, which is the experience side, okay? And we'll talk about the other side, which is the inexperienced side, in a minute. But I've played drums since I was 12. I did my first professional gig at 15. I got my first gongs. I've had exposure to gongs playing in school band, but I got my own personal first gongs in, it was 1974. So that's like 50 years ago. And I still have them. They're hanging up over here. But since that time, I've played a lot of gigs. I've practiced and studied a lot. I've listened to other players. I've listened to thousands and thousands of gongs and played thousands of them personally. So I've developed my ears. As I've said in other videos, I can probably hear more sounds especially more nuances and subtleties out of the gongs than most of you can, just because of my experience. Because I've done this for so long, and I've developed that, and I've worked to develop that ability to hear the subtleties. I love the subtleties, and that's something I work with a lot. So that is an area I've consciously developed. But I can hear all these subtleties in that. So it helps me in picking out gongs, but it also helps that I know the sounds that I like, and if I'm thinking of getting something, I know the sounds that I want. So I will hear a sound in my head. Back to the sun gong. So I'm at the Gong Summit, room full of gongs. They have stacks of gongs leaned up against the walls, and I'm looking at them, and there's a stack of big chow gongs, probably like 36 inch, and some others. So I started it's like going through records in a record store, vinyl records, and you kind of flip through them. So I'm flipping through the gongs, and I come across this 28-inch sun gong. I go, ooh, this looks interesting. I pull it out of the pile, find a mallet, I hit it, and it's like, ooh, that's the sound I have in my head. Play it some more. I have to get this gong. So I had no preconceived ideas other than a sound. Okay, that's important to think about. It wasn't like, I need to get a sun gong. I need to get a 28-inch sun gong, and that'll be my gong. Because I could have 10 of these gongs. They're Chinese. I could have 10 of these. I will have 10 completely different gongs. So I just can't order a sun gong and get the sound I want. I had a sound. It could have been a chow gong. It could have been a wind gong, a sun gong, a heng gong. It could have been 28, 30. It could have been a 32-inch gong. I didn't go with expectations like that. I just went, I had a sound in mind. So I bought this one. It's got a nice deep sound. It's a little heavier, thicker with more body than a wind gong, and it has some really nice overtones. And that yeah. And the way it opens up or blossoms, that's lovely. One more time. So I played this one, and it's like, that's the sound in my head, or one of them. I always have multiple sounds in my head. And when I find things that fit one of those sounds, I buy it. So again, if I had preconceived ideas, I need a 28-inch sun gong, or if I was thinking, I need a 32-inch chow gong, I might have overlooked this. I don't want one of those. But I only came with the idea of a sound, not of a type of gong, a size of gong, a shape of gong, anything like that, just a sound. And that's how I pick everything out. And that works good if you're an experienced gong player. So like I said, we're talking about the experienced side. Because if you are experienced, you know sounds, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, and hopefully, like I've just described, you know what you're looking for. Same thing with this. Let's pull this into the frame here. Last fall at Gong Camp, same thing. I did not go to Gong Camp with the idea of buying any gongs. You can see I've got lots of gongs. Do I need more gongs? Not necessarily. But I was at gong camp, and the first day I'm there, I'm just playing around the gongs during a break, and I come across this 36-inch wind gong. And it's like, cool. Boom. It was the same effect as the sun gong behind it. Locked away in my brain box was that sound. So again, if I had gone to gong camp thinking I need a 34-inch chow gong, that's the gong I have to have, I wouldn't have even looked at this. I might have played it in passing, but the fact that I only had a sound in mind. This one has multiple sounds, which makes it even better. So sounds in my head. When I buy gongs, I'm going to move this out of the way here. When I buy bowls, when I buy bells, when I buy shakers and rattles and seed pods, any sort of instrument, I usually have a sound in my head that it fits. Or if I don't, I'll pick up something in a store and I'll play it and I'll go, oh, that gives me ideas. I can hear that working with the sun gong or the wind gong. Or I can hear that fitting in with the Jupiter, or all three. So it's just a matter of sounds that I respond to and that also respond to me. Sounds that do something, that resonate with me. Like I said, I'm speaking right now from the experience side of playing instruments, where you've been doing it a while. And you have ideas about sound. You developed your ears some. And you know, again, what you like, what you don't like. So when you hear things, you can decide. You can go, that sound does something for me. That sound doesn't do anything for me. It's the same with the sun gong. I hit that, boom, did something for me. Same with the Jupiter gong. I was looking for a compact planet gong that would match up with some of my other gongs tone-wise. And the Jupiter, I was just like, I like the sound of this. Very solid, harmonious sound in the middle. You can open it up more. I responded to this gong, so I ordered one. It fits with all these others. So how, as an experienced gong player, do I look at these instruments? I look at them as an extension of my personality. They're very personal to me. They are a part of me speaking out to you. That's why I use the gongs I use. And that's a reason I always say don't just buy a gong because somebody else has it. Don't watch this video and say he's got a 28-inch Sun gong and a 28-inch Jupiter Planet gong. I'm going to go buy them because he has them. That's the wrong approach. Do these gongs, if these gongs sound great to you and you respond to them in some way, then by all means check them out. And then maybe buy them if you get to play them in person and they work for you. But don't just buy what everybody has. Because if you look at most gong and sound players who've been doing this for a while, they have their own unique setups. Look at Mike Tamburo. His setup is very different than mine. His sound choices are very different than mine. We both play big setups, but we use different gongs and bells and bell plates and things like that. And when Mike plays, it's very personal. It's his sound. Same thing with somebody like Sheila Whitaker in England. She has her own gongs and her own personal style and sound. You can look at all kinds of people. My good friend Jens Zugar from Germany. He's got his own style and his own personal gongs that he's picked out at the factory. So again, these instruments are an extension of our personality, an extension of us. When you get to a certain level of experience, these instruments become very personal. Now let's look at the other part, the newbies, the beginners here. I want to play gongs. I don't know anything about gongs. I don't think it's as important then to find the perfect gong, because you don't know what the perfect gong is, especially you don't know what the perfect gong is for you. Right? Because you don't know anything. So for me to say, oh, you should listen to all kinds of gongs and find what resonates with you and all that, that might not work because you have no information, you have no background to all of this. For me, again, I'm experienced, I'm on this side, I've done this for 50 years. I know what I'm doing. For a new person, I would say just, buy a gong, okay? Buy a gong and just start there. That's what I did when I first started gong. I ordered 2 gongs. I just went to my music store with the catalog and I said, I want a 26-inch and a 24-inch. I didn't know anything about how they would sound, if I would like them, whatever. I just ordered 2 gongs from my music store. And they came in and like, okay, these are the gongs. I started playing them and, But they served that purpose. They got me in the game and they got me working with sound and developing my ear, which is really important. I still have them. Like I said, they're over here. I don't use them anymore. They just kind of hang on the wall. And I keep them because they were my first gongs, So there's some sort of personal thing there. They mean something to me that way. But I don't use them because the sounds, they're not the best gongs, and the sounds aren't the sounds I'm into now. But they got me started, and I played with them and used them, and I could go, I want a gong that's a little deeper, has a bigger blossom to it when you strike it and it opens up, has more sustain, things like that. I learned what I didn't like about those gongs and what I wanted to find other gongs. So then, when I got my next gongs, bigger gongs, I had ordered a bunch of small gongs in the meantime. But when I went and got my next bigger gongs, I had an idea of the sound I was looking for. So I looked for it and I found it and I bought a gong that fit. This is what's in my head. This is what I'm thinking about. This is what I want for a sound. But that was only after gaining some experience as far as working with the gongs I had and going, yes, these are good, but I wish they did this. I wish they sounded this way. So then I knew what to look for. But it's just a beginner person, and especially today, I mean, there are thousands of gongs you can choose from. It's a total gong renaissance right now. 50 years ago, there were Paiste symphonic gongs, not even the planet gongs yet. There were Paiste symphonic gongs, and there were some Asian gongs you could get through various distributors. And that was it. And you just had to order them. There was most stores did not stock a gong. Maybe if they were a really big music store, they might have one Paiste gong in stock because they dealt with the school systems. And the school systems all had Paiste gongs. So if you wanted a gong, you just did like I did. Here's the catalog. Yeah, a Carol Sound catalog. I want to buy these gongs. And you ordered them and hoped for the best. But you didn't know anything. So to get them, you didn't even know what the best would be. You had no idea. So for new people, again, just buy a gong. Don't get all whatever about a gong. Buy what you can afford. If you got lots of money, buy a Paiste gong. I know they're more expensive. They're great gongs. If you have less money, buy a Chinese gong. They're great gongs too. But buy a gong, okay? Get something. The only thing I'll give you some sort of criteria. If you're buying your first gong, buy something between, let's say, 24 inches and 32 inches. First gong, you don't need to buy a 40-inch gong for your first gong. Don't. Because if you buy something like that, it's big, it's heavy to transport, and if you don't like it, you've got this monstrous piece of metal that you don't like, okay? Don't buy a gigantic gong. I know a lot of people will say that, and again, the internet is so funny. People will ask on a Facebook group, I'm new to this, what gong should I buy? And somebody will go, oh, you got to buy a 40-inch Atlantis gong. 40 inches at least. You know, it's like, no, don't buy a gigantic gong until you know you want a gigantic gong and what type you want. Buy something 24 to 32 inches. That's a good size. 28, I must have 11 or 12 28-inch gongs. I think 28-inch is a really perfect size for a gong to be big enough to have a lot of power and carry and resonance, a full sound, yet it's not difficult to transport or deal with. 28's a good size, kind of between 24 and 32 inches. Yeah, 28's great. But in that range, 24 will give you a gong that's big enough to give you a nice sound, especially if it's your only gong. 32 gives you a really great sound. It's big, it's full, there's a lot there, yet it's not gigantic. Okay? That's my only advice. Buy a gong within that range. And then play it. Play it. Listen to it. Develop your ear. Develop your ideas. So that later on you can move from this beginner person and get in the middle. You're intermediate now. you have some ideas about sound and what you like about sound and don't like about sound. And then you go, I want either a second gong or maybe a better gong. Okay, then you have some ideas of what to buy, and you might go, yeah, I want a bigger one. Let's check out some 36-inch gongs or something like that. So that's the only criteria. When you're new, you don't know anything, and you really wouldn't know any better for most people, because you're going to be so thrilled to have a gong. You're probably going to love it no matter what. But once you develop your ear and your ideas and your criteria for sound, and you start to personalize this idea of sound, once you get there, you're going to have ideas about what you really want in a gong. Now, you can keep your first gong, like I did. I have my first 2 gongs on the wall over here in my studio. Or you could sell it then to either help finance a different gong, or you just buy a different gong and then sell your other gong to somebody. Nothing says you have to keep them forever. But just start somewhere, okay? Start with a chow gong, a wind gong, or like a Paiste symphonic gong. Just a basic gong. Start with one of those. And then, besides working with your own gong and developing your ear and everything, is listen to a lot of other gongs. Listen to other players, go see people live, watch their YouTube videos, like all of my videos. You can hear all kinds of gong sounds. And go on the dealer websites. Go on Gongs Unlimited. Go on the Memphis Gong Chamber. Go on the Gong Shop. They all have videos of hundreds and hundreds of different gongs. Listen to them. I do that a lot. Sometimes I'll just take a night and I'll just listen to gong videos. I'll go on those websites and I'll just listen to different sizes and types of gongs just to get an idea. Yeah, okay. And hear sounds. Developing my ear more, understanding what type of sound you can get. How does a sun gong differ from a chow gong? Differ from a wind gong of the same size? And differ from like a Paiste gong of the same size? Listening to that. So you start developing these things and ideas. So do your homework. Listen to a lot of gongs. If you can play them live, great. If you can't, go on the internet. There are a million gong videos out there now. Listen to them. Take notes. Oh, Paiste Jupiter, I kind of like that. Where can I go hear one in person? So you go play one in person and you go, yeah, it doesn't really hit me here. Okay, it sounded good on the video, but it didn't do anything here. Or you might go, that's it. I really respond to it. But that's the next step. Buy any gong, good quality gong. Get started. Just jump in, jump in the pool and start swimming and develop things. Get to be intermediate. You got ideas. Okay, I want more or better gongs. Boom, you have ideas. Get to be the expert. You've got a bazillion ideas and all this experience. And someone like me, I just carry sounds in my head. And like I said, this matched a sound in my head. This wind gong here matched a sound in my head. This matched a sound I had in my head. So I tend to do that. Or sometimes I'll find a gong. This is an interesting sound. It wasn't in my head, but this is an interesting sound. This is something I can work with and develop. But I'm looking at it from an expert's view. Somebody who has years and years of experience. So again, if you are new, just buy a gong. Listen to a few online and go, I kind of like chow gongs. Okay, buy a chow gong. All right, boom. Just get your gong and work with it. And you go, oh, okay, I like this. I think I want a bigger, deeper sound. I want a bigger chow gong. Okay, you've got some criteria there because you've worked with this one. Or you might go, I want something that responds a little quicker, like a wind gong. Okay, you've got this criteria. You're starting to develop things. And back to this personal thing. So you get these ideas and you develop them, and you develop your personal setup, your personal playing style. I don't even have any mallets here, hardly. You use the mallets you like. You know, you find the mallets you like. It's the same thing with mallets. Buy a mallet. Get a mallet with your gong and go, I want something bigger, smaller, heavier, lighter. You learn things. It's like anything you get involved in. And the more you learn, the more you can discriminate and decide on things. So do that. And follow your own path. Don't look at my videos or someone else's videos and copy us. Get ideas, get inspiration, but find your own sound. Find the gongs that turn you on and play them and develop your own sound and follow your own path, because again, this is so personal. And I think a lot of people on Facebook and the internet miss that because they're trying to be somebody else, and other people are trying to shove their own ideas down someone's throat. Like I said, you need a 40-inch Atlantis gong. That's the only gong you should buy because I have one and it's the best gong in the world and you should buy one too. No, that doesn't work that way. Find what you like, play them how you like, walk your own path, okay? Because this is personal. That's why I have the gongs I have. That's why I've amassed this crazy collection of gongs I have, because they all mean something to me. And they're personal, and they all produce sounds that are a reflection of me and a part of me. So when you come see me at a session or a workshop, you are getting me. That is me. These are an extension of me, of my essence. And that's why I've picked out, and that's why I use the instruments I use. It's an extension of my essence. And nobody else can be me. So be your own you. And don't let people tell you not to be you. Don't play that way. Don't do this. That's wrong. Don't do this. I mean, there's kind of a fine line there. There's good advice that can help you, but there's also, again, a lot of people will just tell you, do it this way because I do it that way. Buy this, play this way, use this mallet, set up this way, all that. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. All right, that's enough Cuppa Talk for today, enough ranting. But I get questions every week like this through email and messages and phone calls and things like that. So I wanted to really address that. This is so personal. But when you first start out, it's not, because you don't know anything. But once you get going, it becomes very personal. Gongs, bowls, bells, shakers and rattles. I mean, I use specific shakers and rattles because I like them. They do something for me. They're the sound I like to use. It's personal. Make it personal, but have fun. All right. See you next time.